The story begins with the laughter of a girl who mocked and insulted the protagonist, calling him a joke and pathetic. She made it clear that, had it been up to her, they would have never been childhood friends. Amidst her laughter, the protagonist could also hear something breaking inside him. But to better understand how we reached this moment, let's rewind a bit. Takayashiki Rua, a girl far from ordinary, was a popular idol at the peak of her career. She was also the heir to a massive Japanese conglomerate with unparalleled political and economic power. Her looks earned her the title of princess, much like those in fairy tales. On the other hand, we have our protagonist, Suzuki Kasuma, dull, gloomy boy with no friends or girlfriend. A true otaku, so to speak, with only one defining trait. He was Rua's childhood friend. That was the only thing that set him apart, and up until then, he had always lived in her shadow. But unlike her, he didn't need to be special or anything like that. He just wanted a normal life, with friends and a girlfriend. Those were his simple desires. He had once confided in his friend, and her response had been that he was an idiot. An otaku, like you, should know your place, she told him. She added that his only value was being her childhood friend and beyond, that he was nothing, and he should accept that. It wasn't surprising. These were the kinds of words she'd always said to him since they were kids. Words that constantly echoed in his mind, like a curse. But despite it all, the protagonist just wanted to be normal. And with that in mind, spring came during his first year of high school. Kazuma was studying in his room when he heard a notification on his phone. Looking at it, he saw a message from his friend, inviting him to karaoke in 3 days with a group of friends. She added that Yahiragi would be attending as well. Kasuma knew who she was. She was as striking as Rua, though he had never really talked to her. He wondered why Rua was mentioning her now. Another message came in. Rua reminded him of his desire to make friends and have a girlfriend, and insisted he attend to take the first step toward achieving his goals. She encouraged him to be brave. These words filled Kasuma with motivation, and with that in mind, he went out the next day to buy the best clothes he could afford. He even worked up the courage to get a haircut. Finally, the day of the meet arrived. Determined to take a step toward change, Kasuma opened the door to the karaoke room. However, when he entered, all he heard were the mocking laughs of the group, making fun of him for actually showing up and for cutting his hair. The girls commented that he still smelled like the hair salon, while his childhood friend, part of the group, laughed and said he must have really tried hard. Kasuma understood it immediately. Was that kind of event, that kind of joke. Rua, smiling mischievously, approached him and asked why he was just standing there. With a big smirk, she told him not to hold back and that he could cry if he wanted. She even bet 1,000 yen he would, and said it would be fun to watch him do so. At that moment, Kasuma murmured something, but Rua couldn't hear it. She asked him what he had said. That's when he asked if he had done something to deserve this treatment. Hearing this, Rua laughed uncontrollably and said it was obvious he was her slave. She told him to stop saying nonsense and cry from embarrassment, calling him a joke, repeating the same words she had said at the start of the story. She added that the mere fact of being her childhood friend annoyed her. Hearing this, something inside Kasuma snapped. He responded, saying that he felt the same way, and asked if they could end their relationship. Rua was stunned and angrily asked what he was saying. He confirmed that he was saying exactly what she had heard and that she had said the same thing. She complained that she could laugh at him, hate him, but he had no right to do the same. As she insulted him, Kasuma looked at her with pity, thinking that if someone like her could be an idol at the peak of her career, then the world was truly lost. After that, he slammed the money on the table, turned around, and walked out, saying that was it. Ruha's friends laughed, thinking he was being sentimental, while the girls told her not to worry about a guy like him. Meanwhile, one of the girls, looking at the table, asked if it was broken. She wondered if the boy had broken it when he hit it. They denied it, saying it would be impossible and that if he had, the boy wouldn't be human. Rua, frozen in the middle of the room, ignored her friends, calling her lost in her thoughts. After a moment, she screamed in tears that she couldn't allow it and would never forgive him. On the other hand, Kasuma, outside the karaoke, felt a sense of lightness. The world seemed brighter than ever, and he wondered why he had been enduring. All of this from a girl who was nothing more than a beast in human disguise. That's when he had an epiphany. He didn't need to live for her, under her shadow. He was free. That same night, in the Takayachiki mansion, the president of the Taikai group and director of the Takayachiki Teiso Academy was reviewing some files when he heard the voice of his granddaughter, which filled him with happiness. Entered, complaining that Kasuma had done something terrible to her and had said they should end their friendship, her cousin, Takaya Shiki Sakura, who was present, asked if that was true. Rua confirmed it, saying that Kasuma had never spoken to her like that before. Sakura then asked if Kasuma had done something horrible to make him want to end their friendship. Rua explained that he hadn't said anything bad. He had only told her that she was his slave and that just being her childhood friend bothered him. That was all he had said. Hearing this, her cousin said those were awful words. Even her grandfather commented that it wasn't surprising Kasuma had gotten upset upon hearing that. Rua justified herself, claiming she didn't say it seriously and was just teasing him a little. She explained that since Kasuma entered high school, he had been talking about wanting to make friends and have a girlfriend, which seemed strange. To her, her cousin disagreed, saying that wanting friends and a girlfriend was perfectly normal. Rua then yelled, saying it wasn't normal because the most beautiful princess in the world was right next to him. She was there with him, so it was impossible for him to want to spend time with others, let alone get a girlfriend. She added that she shouldn't be upset just because she had played a few pranks and teased him a little. That wasn't wrong. Then she snapped, saying no one understood Kasuma like she did because she loved him. At that moment, her indulgent grandfather commented that Kasuma was actually the one to blame. Her wiser cousin suggested that Rua apologize if she wanted to mend her relationship with him. However, Rua refused. She asked Sakura, her teacher, to do something about it. She wanted Sakura to fix everything and find a way for Kasuma to apologize to her. The adorable Rua even asked her to tell him that she loved him very much and, if possible, give him a kiss. At this last request, Sakura could only smile and then asked her grandfather if he wanted Kasuma to become Rua's husband. The grandfather immediately answered affirmatively. In fact, he had made Sakura Kasuma's teacher to teach him martial arts, science, and other skills for this very reason. He also knew Rua liked Kasuma a lot and didn't believe there was anyone more talented than him for her. Upon hearing her grandfather's words, Sakura could only confirm that it was absolutely true. She had never seen anyone as talented as Kasuma since elementary school. His grades had always been the best, even though he deliberately kept his average modest to avoid standing out too much. He did this to remain in Rua's shadow. If he ever took things seriously, he wouldn't just have the best grades in school, but in all of Japan. That's why he avoided standing out to prevent causing a scandal. Moreover, Kasuma was very popular among the girls at school. Even Rua, with her influence, had managed to get the girls who liked him to transfer to other schools, which made Kasuma believe that he wasn't popular with them. Rua, on the other hand, proudly commented that it was obvious she would get rid of those girls because, after all, he was hers. The grandfather commented that, after hearing all this, it was clear that Kasuma was the true candidate to inherit the Taikai group. Sakura remained silent, considering the possibility. But she knew that after the fight with Rua, Kasuma no longer had any reason to hold back his potential, whether in studies, sports, or love. Things could get pretty complicated from that point. On dot, the next morning at school, people were talking about the confrontation between Kasuma and Princess Rua when he arrived. He found his desk and chair removed, with a sign saying there was no space for him. He knew more or less what had caused the sit was all because of the super idol. Famous though to him, she was just that despicable girl he no longer wanted to associate with. Our protagonist attended Taikai Academy, where the motto was to shape people of Class S and turn them into the best in the world, which is why it was often called the Academy S. The Academy admitted only the most outstanding students in various fields, even exempting them from entrance exams. It was a caste system designed to mold the future leaders of the government and other important positions. Within this school, the center of attention and the most well-known and influential person was Princess Takayachiki Rua. Moreover, the director was her own grandfather, which explained the teacher's leniency toward her. Kasuma knew he couldn't go to the teacher's office to resolve this. The result would be predictable. At first, he considered putting his desk and chair back as they were before, but then he decided against it. He wouldn't act the same as always. He left a note explaining that, since there was no space for him, he would study on his own and asked the teachers to manage his attendance as appropriate. After that, he walked away. Seeing this, his classmates whispered, wondering if he really dared to defy Princess Rua's wishes. As Kasuma walked, he thought about how important it was to avoid being found to prevent causing any more trouble. He was heading to an underground storage room, a place he alone knew about and often went to between classes. Kasuma had learned about the underground storage room thanks to a senpai from the library committee. He desired a normal life, but he knew that after challenging that girl, it would be hard to be friends with anyone, let alone have a girlfriend. However, at least he could be alone and live in peace. When he opened the door to the storage room, he found a girl changing. She screamed as soon as she saw him, and at that moment, Kasuma didn't realize that the scream would mark the beginning of a series of events that would revolve around him. Surrounded by unusual girls, the normal, peaceful life he had always longed for might never come. Meanwhile, Rua sat calmly at her desk, confident that Kasuma would return soon to apologize. On the other hand, in a YouTube video, the super famous idol Rua greeted her fans enthusiastically before addressing some things that had been bothering her lately. She mentioned that she had recently been to a karaoke where someone ruined the atmosphere. However, she left out the fact that it was a boy and, showing professionalism, lied, saying there were only girls there. She took the opportunity to encourage her subscribers not to behave that way. Before signing off, she announced that she was thinking of debuting in a new project with a cute CU named Aminato. They both studied at the same school and belonged to the same agency. They would release a CD together and, in 2 weeks, perform at Shan Mall with free tickets. After a farewell, a wave of positive responses and support poured in, although some insults were also aimed at the person who ruined the karaoke. Back to Kasuma, still at the door of the storage room. He apologized to the girl for what had happened and introduced himself. She also apologized, saying she shouldn't have screamed like that. Kasuma quickly assured her it was his fault for entering without knocking. Apparently, she knew about the room and nodded, telling him he could come in now, apologizing for making him wait outside. Kasuma took a quick glance and curiously asked why she was wearing sports clothes, or rather, why she had decided to change their. The girl shyly apologized again before explaining that she had been looking for a place to practice her singing and dancing, and she remembered this storage room someone had mentioned. She confessed she was a CU and would soon perform live as part of a group, so she needed to practice. Kasuma commented that she was also part of the entertainment world. He thought it wasn't too strange considering there were several artists at this school, including his childhood friend. Apparently, the girl in front of him was one of them. At that moment, Kasuma complimented her dedication, saying she even brought a mirror to the room. However, he asked what had happened with her class. Embarrassed, she explained that when she arrived at school, she found her desk and chair in the hallway with a note that said, "No space for you." Hearing this, Kasuma thought the situation sounded too familiar. He remembered seeing tears in her eyes earlier. His thoughts were interrupted when his phone vibrated. He checked it to find a long list of messages from Rua. She was asking where he was, warning him that he would be late for class. She also asked if he had seen the video from the previous day, and the responses from her fans who said what he did was very cruel. Rua also warned him that she might mention his name in her next video, which could lead to her fans attacking him. Finally, she urged him to obediently bring his desk and chair to the classroom and kneel to apologize. Kasuma didn't respond. He simply blocked her. Back with Amane, Kasuma asked why she was going through such things if she was a standout student, someone who had entered the school thanks to her talent. However, she corrected him, saying that although she was a CU, she wasn't very famous, so neither her face nor her voice stood out much. Kasuma, confused, asked what she was talking about. Although he couldn't see her face clearly due to her bangs, her voice sounded quite lovely to him. He added that it was like the sound of a pleasant, memorable bell. Hearing this compliment, Amane was surprised and blushed with extreme embarrassment. She turned away, saying he was exaggerating too much. She explained that in the world of CUs and idols, There were many people with much better voices than hers. Compared to Rua Takayachiki, she was nothing. She added that, luckily, she had been paired with Rua, which was probably why she had been receiving such treatment lately. She had started getting negative comments on her social media, saying her presence would affect Rua's image and ruin it. She received many insults and criticisms like that. Kasuma found this interesting because, apparently, idol fans could be just as despicable as the idols themselves. At that moment, Kasuma asked how she had ended up paired with that pig. Hearing this, Amane was stunned and asked what he had. Jess said. Kasuma quickly apologized, saying it was an accident, and clarified that he was referring to Rua Takayachiki. Hearing this, Amane became upset and told him he shouldn't speak like that. She warned him it was dangerous to say such things. About Rua within the school, Kasuma tried to calm her down, assuring her that no one else was around. Once she calmed down a bit, Amane explained that it had been a decision of her agency. She added that since both she and Rua attended the same school and were with the same agency, and given that she was a quiet and ordinary person, her only role was that of a secondary character. Amane's words were harsh for Kasuma, who couldn't help but think she was being too hard on herself. He realized that since both girls were with Tekai Music, a company owned by Rusha's grandfather, it was clear that the agency would do everything to benefit Rua. He also considered that the situation with Amane's desk was probably caused by someone opposed to the collaboration, considering Amane as inferior. Still, he felt everything was excessive, interrupting his thoughts. Amane announced that she didn't mind playing a secondary role. She added that for someone like her, an opportunity like this was very rare, and that's why she wanted to give it her all. She didn't want to become a burden. Kasuma stayed silent for a moment before asking if that's why she was working so hard in the storage room. She confirmed, and with a smile, Kasuma commented that he thought it was great. It seemed like he had come up with an idea. He told Amane that he would help her practice, even if he could only offer advice from the perspective of a beginner. If she didn't mind, he was willing to accompany her. Amane shook her head, smiling brightly, and took Kasuma's hand, expressing her gratitude for his support. This surprised Kasuma a little, thinking that this girl, compared to the pig of his childhood friend, was much more charming. Later, during the break, Kasuma walked down the hallway with 2 bottles of water, concerned that Amane, after practicing since morning, might have gotten dehydrated. That's when he heard a voice calling him to wait. It was Rua who asked where the hell he had gone and why he skipped class. She demanded to know who he thought he was. Kasuma thought to himself, "Here we go again." Rua looked at him arrogantly and asked why he was ignoring her and blocking her messages, telling him that no one could ignore her. She asked if he was so nervous he couldn't look at her. Kasuma didn't respond and walked right past her without a word. This made Rua even more upset. Just then, someone grabbed Kasuma by the shoulder, and the voice asked why he was ignoring the girl, adding that it was a huge disrespect to Rua. Looking at the boy's face, Kasuma immediately recognized him as the future star of the baseball club. Kasuma wondered if he had nothing better to do than stick with Rua, considering that Kasuma himself should be learning from Minato Amane. The angry boy asked if Kasuma was staring at him and urged him to speak up. At that moment, the boy threw a punch, but it passed right through the air as if Kasuma had vanished. The boy was left completely confused. Kasuma appeared behind him. With an imposing presence, the people around them began to murmur, wondering what had just happened and if the punch had missed. Some even joked that the boy looked pathetic. To add fuel to the fire, Kasuma, with an expressionless face, asked the boy what was wrong and if he needed more training. This infuriated the boy, who tried to hit him again. But Rusha's voice stopped him cold. She pointed at the boy and told him that only she, or someone authorized by her, had the right to bother Kasuma. He couldn't mess with Kasuma without her permission. The boy, obviously, just nodded without saying anything. Kasuma then walked up to Rua, who, with a smile, asked him what was going on. It was then that he asked if she thought she had done something impressive, correcting himself and saying that no one had the right to bother him. That person didn't exist. He added that he wouldn't allow anyone to mess with him, whether it was her or anyone else. He walked past her without hesitation, telling her not to bother him again. Rua stumbled and fell to the ground, trembling. The sycophants around her quickly approached and asked if she was okay. She stammered but finally managed to say that Kasuma had been so cool. A week later, Amane was practicing diligently in the storage room. In the middle of her practice, she tripped and would have fallen if Kasuma hadn't arrived just in time to catch her. This made Amane blush. After standing up, she apologized for disturbing him. Kasuma told her not to worry about it, as he was happy to help. The important thing was that she didn't get hurt. Surprised, Amane remarked how incredible he was, as every time she fell, he was always there just in time to help her. The protagonist, unfazed, replied that it wasn't anything special, just normal. Amane raised her voice, denying this, and insisted he was truly amazing. She added that since the day they met, he had always been helping and protecting her. She didn't even keep track of how many times he had saved her. With a choked voice, she told him she was really grateful. Kasuma, stunned by these words, was hearing them for the first time. He replied that he hadn't done anything worth thanking him for. He then shifted back to the practice, advising her not to spin like she did earlier when returning to center so she wouldn't lose balance. She responded that doing it that way would look too plain on stage. The protagonist considered this and had an idea. He suggested it would be better to jump to the center, adding that it would look awesome. She told him that it was impossible because the distance was about 5 meters. He innocently said it wasn't that complicated, just needed a little push from the knees. He showed her how to do it, and then he made a huge jump that left Amane open-mouthed. He told her she could do it that way. She quickly denied it, saying it was impossible. She added that what he had just done wasn't something a normal person. Kadushi also mentioned that his grades in physical education must have been amazing. He denied this, saying his grades had always been average since primary school. She was surprised. She couldn't believe it. Back to practice, he told her that she probably couldn't spin to the center due to her hunched posture. She agreed, mentioning that even the choreography teacher had scolded her for it. He suggested she change her approach, telling her to use her hunched posture to adopt a cat-like pose. He urged her to try and dance that way. She did, and the kawaii effect stunned Kasuma. He couldn't believe how adorable she was. After a while, excited, she told him she didn't know why, but it fit her perfectly. He responded that, in that case, he would ask the costume designer to make her cat ears and a tail. She shared in his excitement and agreed. But then she realized something. She apologized to Kasuma, saying she couldn't use it since it needed to match Rua's style, as she was a supporting character for Rua. The protagonist, hearing her words, asked if she was okay with that. She replied that it was fine, and added that from the start, singing and dancing were never her main goals. She explained that her real dream was to be a voice actress and perform anime characters. With that goal in mind, she would give her best effort in the work ahead, as it would probably open doors for her career. Kasuma was stunned by her overwhelming positive attitude. He couldn't help but notice how radiant she looked when talking about her voice acting career. It was clear she loved her profession. It was then that, in a low voice, Kasuma confessed that he felt a bit envious. She asked what he meant, and he shared that he had no dreams or goals. Curious, she asked if there was nothing he would want to do. After thinking for a moment, he replied that if he had to say something, it would be that he wanted to be normal. He didn't need to be special. He just wanted to be someone he could be proud of, someone he could say, "This is me." Upon hearing this, Amane told him not to worry. She was sure that whether he was normal or whatever he chose to do, he would succeed. Kasuma was surprised and, with a warm smile, thanked her. Her smile made Amane blush. She then mentioned that she had something to ask him. Intrigued, he asked what it was. At that moment, she confessed that lately she had heard rumors that he and Rua had fought, and she asked if it was because of her. He denied this and then told her that he and Rua were no longer friends, and it didn't matter to him what she did or what happened with Rua. Then, extremely nervous, she approached him, her voice trembling as she asked if it bothered him that she wanted him to be her. Just as she was about to say the last word, the door slammed open. Rua entered visibly angry, emitting a killer aura. She asked Amane what the hell she was doing with Kasuma in such a tight space. Furious, she demanded to know what Amane thought she was doing with something that wasn't hers. Rua storms in completely desperate and screams about what the hell is going on. The girl wonders why anyone would be with that girl. She thinks Amane is a bad voice actress that nobody likes. Rua calls her dumb and stupid. She says the reason Kaz has been disappearing after school lately is now clear. It's because he's been meeting with that girl. She keeps going, asking why he would go out of his way to be with someone so gloomy, ugly, and hopeless. She yells that she hates this situation. Rua is still in shock, seeing Kasuma with Amane in the storage room. She can't believe what she's seeing. Rua demands to know why he's siding with such an insignificant girl. Amane tries to explain the situation and nervously says that it's all Rua's fault. She says that Kasuma was just helping her practice. Rua grabs Amane's shirt. With a yonder expression, Rua screams that it's way too soon for Amane to be near Kaz, even if it were 1,000,000 years in the future. She's being extremely possessive. Rua continues insulting Amaya, saying she bets Amaya is ugly under the bangs covering her face. Rua asks if Amane has ever shown Kaz what's under her bangs. Getting even more furious, Rua decides to take action. She yells at Amane to tape her bangs up right now. Kasuma tries to step in, tells Rua to stop, and asks if she's not supposed to be in the same group as Amane. She replies that someone like Amane doesn't matter. Kasuma says Amane trains like crazy every day just to achieve her goals, and tells Rua not to get in her way. Rua is shocked and asks why he's taking Amane's side, saying he's her childhood friend and asking why he never takes her side. Responds that he supports people who work hard. He makes it clear that he and Rua are no longer childhood friends. He asks if she forgot what he told her before. Rua asks if Kasuma is still mad about what happened the other day. She tries to say it was all just a joke. Kasuma questions how many people she's hurt with her so-called jokes, and says she should know the difference between right and wrong since they're in high school. Rua stays silent, unable to reply. Kasuma tells her she's the one who needs to learn her place. She's in shock. Kasuma calls for Amane to leave with him. He tells her to come with him. Rua says she's way cuter than Amane, and there's no way she can lose to a third-rate voice actress like her. The scene shifts to the school entrance. Amane apologizes to Kasuma. She says it's her fault that Rua got mad at him. Kasuma replies that she doesn't need to apologize. He says she actually just gave him a great idea. Kasuma explains that if they can hit Rua's overblown pride in just the right spot, they can totally ruin her game. He wants to create something called Operation Dance Amanunan. The two arrive at a family restaurant. Kasuma pulls a pair of black cat ears out of a bag. Amane asks what that is. Kasuma asks if Amane has a YouTube channel. She replies shyly that she kind of does. He wants her to wear the cat ears and upload yesterday's cat dance to YouTube. Kasuma is sure it'll attract attention. Amane explains that her channel barely has any subscribers. She doesn't think it'll get much attention. Kasuma promises he'll help with that part too. He keeps convincing Amane about the plan. He says with her dance, he's sure it'll work, and asks her to trust him. Amane finally agrees, though hesitantly. She says she understands. Kasuma suggests it would be a waste to keep hiding her face. He says that when she records the video, she should consider lifting her bangs. Kasuma then says Amane is seriously cute, and again suggests it would be a waste. To hide her face, Amane explains that she's afraid of people looking at her. Amane confesses that she can't relax unless she's hidden behind her bangs. She apologizes and says she needs to fix that. He asks if her agency has said anything about it. Amane replies that not really, and that, at least until the group disbands, it fits more with the supporting role image this way. He says Amane should have gone solo from the beginning. She reveals that apparently that is the plan. She understands the group is just for publicity. She explains that they'll disband after releasing only one CD. Kasuma comments that the entertainment industry is dirty. Amane explains that their agency is basically owned by Ruha's grandfather. Amane goes on to say that when it comes to popularity or appearance, she's way out of Ruha's league. She starts getting worried and asks if it's really okay to go through with this. Kasuma observes that Amane's lack of confidence must come from the environment she lives in. He reflects on how this world is full of people like that, people who are afraid of losing their position and try to destroy anything that stands out. He realizes that Amane has been surrounded by people like that, both at school and in the entertainment world. No wonder she lost her confidence. Amane comments that it's amazing Kasuma is childhood friends with Rua and that Rua really likes him. He replies, "Not really, it's just annoying." Then he asks her to just call him Kazuma. Amane says that if it's okay, she'd be happy if he called her Amane Kazuma, and she says no. Amane is really happy, holds the cat ear package, and promises to do her best for the video recording. Time passes, and Amane finally records and uploads her video on YouTube. In the video, Amane is wearing the black cat ears Kazuma bought for her. She nervously introduces herself as Minato Amane, a voice actress. Amane announces she's going to perform her original Amenian dance. She's following Kazuma's plan exactly. Her channel shows only 41 subscribers and 5 comments. In the video, Amane does the cat pose Kazuma suggested and begins her performance. She asks people to watch till the end and says she'd be happy if they enjoyed it. Amane dances her cat routine, showing different poses from the choreography. In the video, Amane also announces that she'll be performing the song live at an event on Sunday. She invites people to come if they're free. Amane asks viewers to subscribe to her channel, but her phone battery dies. Just as she's talking about it, Kazuma is reading the comments on his phone. The comments show mixed reactions. Some of Rua's fans are being negative, telling Amane to stop bothering their princess. But there are also positive comments from real viewers. Kazuma decides to check out Amane's channel himself. He's not romantically interested. He's just gathering information on how people are reacting. Rua finds Amane's video and becomes completely furious. She makes a response video on her own YouTube channel. Rua's channel shows her massive popularity, with 1.1 million subscribers and 2,142 comments. Rua calls Kazuma an idiot, stupid, and other nasty things. She asks why people don't realize how amazing she is. Rua introduces herself to YouTube as Ruaheim, the one and only Rua. She tries to turn her emotional outburst into something that seems like a calculated performance. Rua tries to justify her behavior by saying she was channeling some recent frustrations. She ends her video by signing off as the super-motivated Ruaheim. She suggests maybe she should go Elin on acting. Rua ends the video in a cute way. Kazuma is watching Rua's video on his phone. His expression is completely emotionless and tired. Kasuma decides that if that's how Rua wants to play, he's going to crush her without holding back. Rua's video gets 20,000 views in just 3 hours, while Amane's has only 52 views in 2 hours. It's explained that the difference in recognition is undeniable. As a popular idol, Rua can easily rack up tens of thousands of views. Meanwhile, Amane's video is sitting at only about 50 views. Kasuma acknowledges that Amane's Nyan dance cuteness is truly something special. He believes that if people would just see the video, it would definitely spread. Kasuma starts thinking about what he needs to do to help Amane's video get more views. He decides to take direct action. He begins promoting Amane's video online. Kasuma watches the responses to his posts promoting Amane's video. Many people are responding positively to his efforts. Kasuma reflects on his own personality. He admits he's a simple, gloomy person, and that he doesn't have any real-life friends. But when it comes to the online world, Kasuma once even became the vice leader of a large clan. He was able to build connections and influence in the virtual world. A few days passed since Kasuma. They started promoting Amane's video online. The results are far better than anyone expected. The Amenian dance video now has 500,000 views in just 3 days. The comments have reached 3,563, with people actively reacting to the content. Amane can't believe what she's seeing. She never imagined her video could be so successful in such a short time. Kasuma admits he did his part to promote her content. He says that if the video weren't actually good, it wouldn't have gone viral like this. Kasuma praises Amane, saying it all happened thanks to her talent. She's very happy and moved. Amane tells Kasuma that someone even said they'll come to the event. Now, someone she doesn't even know is going to show up to see her perform. Reflects that Rua has also been aggressively promoting her own event. It seems a lot of students from Taikai Academy are going to attend. Rua shows up wearing cat ears. Amane asks why Rua is wearing cat ears. Rua shouts that she saw Amane's stupid video. She thinks she can just copy the cat ears and automatically be better than Amen. Rua says that if they're playing by the same rules, there's no way someone like Amane could beat her. Rua declares that the Sunday event is going to be a Katir showdown. She's going to make sure everyone knows who the truly cutest and most popular one is. Kasuma knew she would do exactly that. He remembers they were childhood friends and understands how Rua's brain works. He notices a small twitch at the corner of Rua's mouth, a clear sign she's trying to hold back her frustration and anger. The narration announces that everything is now in place. The rebellion against the top idol is about to begin. It's the day of the event at Shin Mall. Amane is wearing a beautiful maid dress. Kasuma arrives at the venue and sees Amane already dressed for the show. Amane calls out to Kasuma when she sees him arrive. Kasuma asks if the dressing room isn't on the other side. He sees Rua there too, getting ready for the event. He says, well, whatever, but notes that he doesn't want to breathe the same air as that useless person. Kasuma says maybe it's better this way. At least they won't be interrupted. He encourages Amane, saying it's almost showtime, but as long as she performs like she always does, everything will be fine. Kasuma tells Amane to have confidence. He reminds her that he watched her practice every day and that she's improved. A lot.aman asks why Kasuma is going so far for someone like her. She says she's been wondering about it the whole time. Just why? Kasuma asks if Amane doesn't think their school is a little too suffocating. Amane mentions how they favor the scholarship students. Kasuma plainly says he doesn't know exactly why, but explains that even though this happens everywhere, at Taikai Academy, the discrimination is just way too obvious. Kasuma explains that if someone like Amane, who isn't a scholarship student, could shine, it might break a hole in the wall the school has built. He clarifies that part was more of an afterthought. Kazuma says that in the beginning, he just saw how hard she was working and wanted to cheer her on. That's all. Kasuma hands her the cat ears he made. Amane asks if he made them himself. Kasuma explains that he was trying to find something that suited her better. He figured it would be faster to just make them himself. Amane is very happy and thanks Kasuma sincerely, promising that she'd do her best. Amane asks how they look on her. Kasuma replies that, just as he expected, they suit her much better. He adjusts her hair. Amane asks what he's doing. He says he once tried changing his hairstyle. Kasuma explains that someone invited him to karaoke, so he worked up the courage and went to a salon. He felt like a completely new person, like he was reborn. He says that usually when people see someone looking different, it's normal for them to point and laugh. But in his case, they just pointed and laughed. Kasuma says that Minato Amane is different. Kasuma tells her with conviction that Amane is someone who can shine. He explains that it's because she has a big dream and worked so hard to chase it. Someone knocks on the door, saying it's Minato-san's turn. Kasuma tells Amane to steal each and every fan from that pig-faced idol. He's motivating her to completely outshine Rua. Amane shouts with determination that here she goes. The moment of the showdown has finally arrived. The stage at Shin Mall is packed with a huge crowd, all buzzing with excitement for the start of the show. And the first to step onto the stage is the self-proclaimed princess, Rua Takayachiki. With a confident smile, she waves to her fans and thanks everyone for coming today. She then loudly declares that she is everyone's idol, the Princess Rua. The crowd erupts in cheers of joy. Fans comment on how beautiful she looks and say, this amazing performance is exactly what they expect from the princess. They also notice her cat ears, saying they look perfect on her. With a radiant smile on her face, Rua announces to the crowd that today is the debut performance of her new group. She reveals the name Princess Rua and her fun servants, making it clear what Amane's role is. With that, she says they're going to sing their debut song. Rua calls her out, finally introducing the other member to the audience. She announces that the lovely Minato Amane-chan will join her for the song. Meanwhile, backstage, Amane takes a deep breath, gathering all her courage. She gets ready to step onto the stage, knowing this is the decisive moment. Wearing the special cat ears Kazuma made for her, she grips the microphone tightly. Shyly, she introduces herself to the massive crowd, saying hello, and that her name is Minato Amane. Then, gaining a bit of courage, her face lights up with a sincere and adorable smile. She says it's a pleasure to meet everyone and kindly asks them to support her. Rua is completely shocked by the crowd's reaction. Her eyes widen in disbelief. The audience starts murmuring, wondering who that girl is. Soon after, they start saying how beautiful she is. Frustrated, Rua questions what's happening with the audience. She tries to convince herself that Amane only got attention because she raised her bangs a little. In her mind, she insists that when it comes to singing and dancing, she's way better. Feeling like she's losing control, Rua hastily grabs the microphone. She stammers a bit, but says that either way, they're going to start the song now. She points out that a super cute voice actress is right there, and she asks everyone to listen carefully. The music starts, and the two girls begin their choreography. On stage, Amane immediately strikes her cat pose, full of unique and adorable charm. The attention of the crowd, which had been entirely on Rua, begins to shift. People in the audience start asking who the new girl is. Soon, everyone agrees that she's incredibly beautiful. They get even more curious, wondering what other work she's done before. As Amane keeps singing with a bright smile, the audience begins to compare. Honestly, they start wondering if Amane might actually be better than Rua. Someone in the crowd says out loud that her voice and dancing are better than Rua-chan's. Another person immediately agrees, saying it's true. Rua hears the audience's comments, and her face twists into an expression of pure panic and desperation. Meanwhile, in the crowd, Kazuma watches the scene with a cold, emotionless expression. In his thoughts, he declares the end of the battle. Rua, you've definitely lost. As he watches her, Kazuma reflects on Rua's arrogance. He remembers how she thought she could easily win by turning the battle into one of singing and dancing. But while Rua was just having fun and wasting time, Amane was practicing nonstop. She trained day and night, even after school ended, fully dedicating herself. Because of all that effort, her dancing has reached the level of a goddess. On stage, she radiates with divine beauty, captivating everyone. Kazuma continues to watch the scene, calm and composed. He realizes that, come to think of it, the battle had already been decided from the very beginning. Ruha's defeat began the moment she felt jealous of that inferior girl who became famous with cat ears. Because of that jealousy, she stepped into the same ring as Amane. She entered the very field where Amane was strongest. And now, he thinks, she's standing in the exact same position he was in that day. Kazuma's thoughts continue as he watches. Rua's desperation on stage, he understands that she was dragged out of her own territory, and by her own will, she came to this stage. Kazuma then remembers that humiliating day at karaoke. He realizes that Rua is now exactly where he was back then. Suddenly, Kazuma's attention shifts to the crowd. He notices that something is moving. While the audience is completely absorbed in the show, several tense-looking men with earpieces begin making their way through the crowd. They're heading directly toward the back of the stage. Kazuma understands that it's time for him to act too. One man in a suit looks desperate. He checks his phone, cursing under his breath, frustrated that he can't figure out what's happening. He hasn't been able to contact any of his men, and he knows he needs to act before the song ends. With a furious expression, he decides that if it has come to this, he has no other choice. He'll have to remove that girl from the stage himself. But, as he turns to act, a cold voice stops him. Kazuma is standing there, arms crossed, with an icy gaze. He calmly asks who exactly the man said he was planning to remove from the stage. The man doesn't understand what a student is doing there. Then he looks down, and his expression turns to pure terror. All of his men, the guards he had sent earlier, are lying unconscious at Kazuma's feet. He stares at Kazuma's calm face. With a trembling voice, he asks, "Who the hell are you, Kazuma?" Without changing his composed expression, pauses briefly. Then he states that the man is a servant of the Takayashiki family, isn't he? He continues, explaining the plan he has already uncovered. If Amane-chan didn't perform her role as a mere sidekick, they were ordered to sabotage her. The man is completely shocked. He can't believe what he's hearing, and stammers asking how Kazuma found out. The man is frozen, with Kazuma standing behind him. Without warning, Kazuma moves at incredible speed. He lands a precise, powerful blow to the man's neck. Then he concludes, with a tone of disdain, that it seems the quality of the Takayashiki family's servants has gone downhill. Kazuma turns back to the stage, feeling a great sense of relief. He realizes the stage is safe. This is Amane-chan's big moment, and she worked so hard for it. With a determined gaze, he thinks he won't let anyone ruin it. But the truth is, even if they tried, it would already be too late. The audience has already been completely moved by Amane-chan's voice and presence. Amane continues to shine brightly on stage, singing to the crowd that now adores her. Her radiance has become so strong that it can no longer be stopped by anyone. Out of nowhere, Kazuma's voice echoes through the crowd. He shouts with all his strength, "Amane-chan, do your best." Hearing the shout, a man's eyes fill with tears of joy. But Rua, standing beside her, is utterly horrified, completely thrown off. She stumbles and falls spectacularly to the ground. She lets out a cry of pain and humiliation. And just like that, the event came to an end. The great Princess Rua suffered a tremendous fall on stage. But despite that small incident, the event was a major success. The next day, all the big news sites published only articles praising Rua. Both Rua's fall and Amane-chan's performance were completely ignored. Back at school, Kazuma thinks to himself that this is clearly the work of Taikai Music's lobbying. As always, their methods are dirty. But with something like this, they can't hide the shine of what's genuine, and even less so in this era ruled by social media. In the school hallway, Amane is surrounded by other students. One girl says, "Amane-chan, I saw the video from the event." Another comments that she's causing a huge buzz. They praise her, cat ears, and say that when she lifted her bangs, she looked super cute. Amane, shy, as always, can only manage a few words. Watching from a distance, Kazuma reflects a feeling of happiness washes over him. Girl won't be able to mess with her so easily anymore, even though it seems this hurt her quite a bit. After going through such a humiliating moment, and still going viral, even that famous young lady will want to avoid any more scandals. From now on, people won't be able to ignore Amane-chan. Her talent and constant effort, her popularity will only continue to grow. Kazuma reflects that when that moment comes, his own existence, someone who stood up to Ruel, become a burden for Amane. After all, Rua is the queen of the school, and also the head of Amane-chan's agency. So he decides to quietly step away and watch her path from afar. As he turns and starts to walk away, Amane notices him. As Kazuma continues walking, a voice calls out from behind. It's Amane shouting, "His name?" She asks the crowd of students to let her through, and approaches him with a flushed face. She greets him, stuttering a little. Kazuma replies with a simple "good morning." Still nervous, she tries to ask something. She asks if it's not too much trouble for him. She finally gathers the courage and makes a request. She asks if he could practice with her. Schooltoday.Kazuma is surprised by the request. He asks why. Since the event is already over, Amane then begins to explain the situation. The truth is, she's been invited to audition for a new anime. She continues, saying she was contacted by a different agency than her current one, and because of that, she's thinking of switching agencies. She doesn't want an idol agency, but one that gives her work as a Siwa voice actress. With a confident smile, she says that's why she wants to start practicing acting, and she wants to practice with him. Kazuma tries to protest, calling her Amane-chan, but she interrupts him, playfully touching his chin. She steps even closer, her face flushed and her eyes sparkling. She says that only he, Kazuma-kun, should call her Amane, and with a soft voice, she gently asks, "Please." From afar, Rua and her followers are watching the scene. Rua is absolutely furious. She screams, asking what that girl is doing with her Kazu. Kazuma, caught off guard, stammers the nickname she asked for. He thinks that her personality has completely changed ever since she lifted her bangs. Amane lets out a soft laugh. She says, "Maybe so." Amane steps closer and hugs him tightly. She says that if she's like this, it's his fault, Kazuma-kun, because he's the one who lifted her bangs. So, she continues, he has to take responsibility. Seeing the scene, Rua has a total breakdown. Her expression is one of pure horror and disbelief. She can't believe what her eyes are seeing and lets out a scream of complete shock. The sight is too much for her to bear. Rua lets out one last scream and then collapses to the floor, fainting. The protagonist says that after the event with Amanachin ended, June arrived. From that moment on, Amanachin became really famous. The protagonist mentions that Amanash seems busy every day, balancing her new job in school, though there was a bit of gossip at the school entrance. We see the protagonist sitting, thinking that he is known for being surrounded by Rayamin. He comments that now he is recognized for this, and that he currently lives peaceful days. The protagonist notices a conversation where someone jokingly says that they would be willing to die if they could go out with Io Chen. A girl asks him if he's serious, to which he replies yes, but she tells him that's a lie. The new girl questions him if he truly wants a girlfriend, and mentions that it might affect his popularity. Another girl says that it's easy to understand. The girl, whose name we don't know yet, but we'll call her Russ's sister due to the resemblance, tells him that he probably says that because he's been rejected several times by Roa. However, he clarifies that it's not true and that he's saying this because maybe there's a chance he's been told that. Ezunu says that Roa is very beautiful and a fashion leader with great taste. She is also an excellent student, good at the dance club, and the school is proud of her. She has also been on dates with Giraji and Ayan, which is a compliment to Roa's gem. However, Roa's twin tells him that she's had a boyfriend from the beginning. Esenu asks if he's serious. His friend tells him that if he didn't know, Io-chan already has a boyfriend, and he's very mature. Roha's twin says that she's not interested in guys without money and cars, and advises him to give up. Izu mentions that he also has money, and invites her for tea. Roa's twin asks if he's serious, and shows him a purse that's just about to be released. Iragi says that her boyfriend didn't ask for the price of the purse, and bought it for her. She asks if they can have tea together, and Ezenu is concerned about what she said. Izanu says it's too much for him, and others think Iragi is very expensive. The protagonist says that those guys are considered the elite of the school and think of themselves as superior. But what bothers him is that they make too much noise. A girl approaches where Ezenu and Roa's twin are sitting. The protagonist thinks that the table she sits at belongs to the girl with glasses. He notices that the girl is carrying a book and says it's a hidden masterpiece, wondering if she got it from the underground library storage. The protagonist expresses his happiness that the girl found it and borrowed it. Considering it would be a shame for it to remain covered in dust in the basement, the protagonist notices that the girl might have wanted to read the book instead, but Roha's twin is in the way. The protagonist stands up and speaks to Roha's twin, telling her that it's not her seat and that she needs to move. Everyone watches what's happening, and Roha's twin is left surprised by what the protagonist said. She calls him an annoying nerd and accuses him of not leaving her alone, calling him stubborn and bothersome. The protagonist mentions that the bell will ring soon and that she should return to her seat. Roha's twin replies that there's still time for her to get back to her spot, and it's up to her whether she moves or not. The protagonist remembers what happened at the karaoke, where the girl had been glaring at him coldly, making him feel like Araji hated him, and he thinks there's no other option in this situation. The protagonist helps Araji up, and she blushes at the situation. He tells Yano that she can sit down now, and she thanks him. The protagonist lowers Araji, who wonders what on earth he was thinking, and asks how he could do that to her. Thinking he believes he'll get away with it, Roa appears and greets everyone. She asks what all the fuss is about, and approaches to ask Iraji. She asks if the protagonist is misbehaving. Nervously, Iraji says no. The protagonist tells Roa that he's already told her multiple times that they're nothing anymore. He walks up to Roa and tells her they're just strangers now. Roa, sad, asks why he's treating her like this. Enraged, Roa says he's always on Amain's side, acting like she's always trying to get his attention. The protagonist replies that he supports people who put in effort. He walks away, telling Roa that he will never support arrogant people who take credit for others' work. We hear the bell for break time, and the protagonist thinks that the relationship with Roa is finally over, and now he can live like a normal student. He notices a flyer and says that working is noble, but he still doesn't know what job to choose. The protagonist finds a job listing for a well-paid waiter position and thinks it's for the good of Takayasu. He remembers how, when working at the rural field, he learned how to be a good servant. The protagonist thinks the place is far, but he should go to gain some work experience. Later, we see the protagonist head to the place, and after some time, he gets hired. He's speaking with his boss, who tells him that she hasn't met a boy as kind as him in a long time. She introduces the protagonist and explains that her shop isn't big and there are only 2 people working in the front room. If he has any questions, he should ask the person in the front room, and she says goodbye to him. The protagonist looks around the shop, hoping the person will be kind to him. The protagonist enters the shop, introduces himself, and is surprised to find out that the person working there is Araji. She's equally surprised to see him and asks if he's the new worker. He's just as shocked by the situation. Roa recalls what the protagonist said and comments that he's working hard to make a name for himself.
Araji, nervous, stared at him with blushing cheeks. She shouted that it was only for today. She asked him not to tell anyone that he had seen her like that. She said she didn't understand why it had to be him and not someone else. She stepped forward, pointing her finger at him. She said she couldn't accept that situation. She shouted that he was her subordinate. Araji, uncomfortable, asked why he wasn't saying anything. She felt the weight of that silence and trembled with nerves. She tried to justify herself, saying it was far too strange for someone to see her working so seriously in that uniform. She admitted it was bizarre and said that if he wanted to laugh, then he should just laugh already. But Kasuma only answered calmly, asking why he should laugh. Araji was surprised by those words. He said that what he saw before him was simply a person working hard, and there was nothing funny about that. Araji turned red, not knowing where to look. She said there might be something strange about her. She said she was only doing part-time work and that it wasn't a big deal. Kasuma watched her calmly and commented that, judging by the state of the place, she kept everything very clean. Kasuma pointed out the details. He said that even the hardest corners to see were clean. Under the chairs and tables, there was no dust. Even the corners of the mirror had been taken care of. Araji put her hand on her knee, saying it was a little sore. She ordered him to kneel, wipe the stains with a cloth, and then finish cleaning the rest of the house. Kasuma, in silence, only observed her. Then he said that it was a wonderful job. Looking away, she hurriedly grabbed the mop and told him to keep quiet. With the mop in hand, Araji shouted for Kasuma to hurry up and go change his clothes. She said that before the store opened, there was still a huge list of tasks to finish. Kasuma remained still, watching her in silence. Then he answered calmly and firmly, saying he would give his best. The doorbell rang, announcing the arrival of new customers. Araji ran to them with a radiant smile, holding her notepad. She quickly wrote down the order of a plate of Neapolitan pasta and a coffee after the meal. She answered energetically, saying she had understood. With kindness, she apologized for the crowded shop and explained that they could look at the menu beforehand to prepare the next order. The customers smiled at her attentiveness. Later, she brought the bill with precision, explaining the amount received and the change clearly. Finally, she bowed slightly, thanking them with a cheerful and sincere expression. Kasuma continued to watch Araji in silence. In that environment, she seemed completely different from the girl at school. The smile she showed while serving customers didn't look like an act. She gave off lightness, almost as if she were truly happier there than anywhere else. Compared to the cold and arrogant expression she usually carried in the classroom, now she radiated a naturality that surprised him. Kasuma reflected that he shouldn't interfere. If he got in the way, all her effort would lose its meaning. He decided that his role there was only to support her without standing in her path. The cafe's movement slowed down after lunchtime. Exhausted, Araji let her body fall onto the counter, sighing loudly. She said she was far too tired. Kasuma looked around, noticing how many customers the place received. He asked if it was always this crowded at that hour. She confirmed, but tried to reassure him, saying that from then on she would take it easier. Kasuma agreed in silence. He recognized that it must be even harder for her since, besides working at the cafe, she was also part of the school's dance club. Aragi let out a genuine laugh. She said that, in the end, it wasn't boring at all. She added that, in a way, they were geniuses for being able to handle it, and that's why the work even had a fun side.
She asked if that was Kasuma's first part-time job. She said that explained why he was learning so quickly, to the point of scaring her. Kasuma replied, saying it was not a problem, since at least he wasn't slacking off for neglecting his tasks. She told him not to worry, because in truth, she was grateful for his presence. Araiji suddenly realized how she was treating Kasuma. She blushed and pulled back, shouting in desperation. She said it made no sense for them to be acting so friendly. She denied it strongly, repeating several times that it couldn't happen, that it couldn't be friendship, that it was clearly a relationship of enemies. Kasuma asked if it was an enemy, then why? Araiji, red-faced and awkward, stammered. She said it was because of what he had done with Rua. Kasuma stayed serious at her words. He stated that, although he had completely cut ties with Rua, he did not intend to fight with the others, like Hiragi and the rest. There was no need for that. He recalled the karaoke. He said that on that day he had gotten angry and left first. She lowered her head and asked in an almost desperate tone if he hated her. Kasuma answered bluntly. He said there was no hatred. Kasuma kept a serious expression, breaking the silence. He said that in any case, if it were a large bird, it would simply fly away. Araiji widened her eyes, not understanding at first. She asked what he meant by that. He said that she was acting the way someone wanted, but couldn't clearly express what she felt. Then he added that at that moment, he respected Hiragi. Kasuma watched Araiji calmly and acknowledged her effort. He said that she worked efficiently, but at the same time carefully, something that impressed him. With sincerity, he added that from then on, he would be glad if he could learn even more from her. His words sounded direct, but carried a tone of respect. She declared that she couldn't help but support him, calling him Kohai-kun. Araiji smiled with determination, raising her hand in a sign of promise. She said she would do her best. Kasuma, keeping calm, responded by calling her senpai and accepted the offer. She asked for permission to make a question. He said she could ask him anything. Uneasy, she asked why he was helping her in that situation in particular. Kasuma tried to justify himself, saying that there were many plates and bowls, and that's why they needed his help. She said that was a lie. She stated that she had watched all her effort during the day and already understood what he was really like, and she concluded that such an excuse was not his style. She asked if there was a reason. Kasuma noticed the strange gaze of a customer in the cafe. He whispered to Araiji that the man seemed to be following his movements. He noticed that he slipped his hand inside his bag in a suspicious way, something unnatural, and that his face carried ill intentions. Araiji was surprised by his observation, but confirmed, saying that she had felt that before. Kasuma asked if that was common. She admitted, shyly, that it was. Kasuma stayed calm and questioned why then she didn't just expel him. He asked what had happened to the firmness she showed at school. Araiji placed her hands on her chest, trying to gather courage to answer. She stammered, saying it was because of that customer, that his demeanor made her nervous. Then she stepped forward and made a decision. She said that from now on, if the boss showed up, she should tell him immediately. He would take care of the rest and take her place in that situation. She said she understood, but that man was the boss's husband. When the cafe door opened, a new customer entered. It was Amane, smiling brightly, waving as she saw Kasuma.
Amane walked confidently toward them, saying she had heard that Kazuma was working at a part-time job. That was why she had decided to show up and see him in person. She froze when she saw the scene before her. She felt that person was familiar, as if she had met them somewhere before. Kazuma, on the other hand, remained calm. He thought that he probably didn't want everyone at school to find out about this. He silently acknowledged that Hiragi was strong as well. With a firm gesture, Kazuma stepped closer and touched her shoulder, asking her to go home first. Amane smiled brightly at the cafe table, receiving her order with gratitude. A creamy soda was placed in front of her, and she thanked enthusiastically. As she tasted the flavor, she commented on how beautiful and cozy the restaurant was. She also said that the drink was delicious. With a softer tone, she added that she had asked the manager for some free time just so she could talk with Kazuma. She revealed that she had an important job that day, but wanted to take a little of his strength to motivate herself. Her face turned slightly red. She admitted that she was happy not only because of the place, but also because she could see Kazuma wearing a smart suit. Amane smiled radiantly, her cheeks flushed with joy. While tasting the dessert, she said how happy she was in that moment. Kazuma answered calmly, commenting that her voice acting work seemed to be going well. She confirmed cheerfully, thanking him. She said that even the 3 main voice actors had already been chosen. Kazuma nodded, saying that was great. Amane leaned closer to Kazuma with a more serious expression. With a worried look, she asked if the ship had already arrived. Kazuma confirmed that it hadn't yet. He added that she shouldn't tell anyone about it. She said that, in fact, the port had been unusually quiet for 2 weeks. She commented that it was strange, since someone as talkative as the one in charge would hardly stay silent for that long. Amane took a deep breath and thanked him. She said that time had come, so she needed to go. Kazuma, still serious, asked Amane to be careful as she left. Before he could say anything else, Amane stepped forward and surprised him. Without thinking twice, she hugged him tightly. Amane stepped back a little, but her smile still lit up her face. She said she had finished the task that had been troubling her, that his presence always gave her strength, that Kazuma's energy was able to lift her even in the hardest times. However, his thoughts were restless. He recognized that Amane was shining more than ever. She felt as if she had broken free from the chains of work and heavy routine. To her, it was like recovering a part of herself. He remembered Amane's words that something strange was happening. Araji peeked while thinking about what was happening before her. She heard the whispers and wondered what kind of relationship those two shared. Some classmates commented that Amane was a voice actress and her voice was well known. Others said there was a secret connection between her and Kazuma. She remembered the rumors that Amane was close to Suzuki, but preferred to believe that all of it was just a trick. Yet a thought surfaced before she could stop it. They seemed to match, as if they were meant to be together. Slowly, she admitted to herself that Suzuki really was a good person.
A week after starting his new job, prepares in the locker room with a focused expression. Suddenly, he hears a sound and turns to see a girl in a maid uniform peeking through the door. Freezes in panic, her face turning red as she fails to form a single word upon seeing him. She screams in frustration, asking why the code suddenly changed, while he realizes he's in an all-female locker room. Already dressed, smiles and announces that he's finished changing. Sits at the table, visibly downcast, while he finishes putting on his butler uniform in the background. She then asks why there's nothing there, to which he replies, confused, not understanding what she means. The girl finally figures it out, realizing that what she was looking for is behind Suzuki, and thinks about how expensive it must be. He reassures her, saying that everything's fine now, but she interrupts him, asking him to stop. With an adorable smile and blushing cheeks, steps closer and asks if Suzuki is scary. Impressed, wonders aloud if he runs a club, has had special training, or if it's simply because he's a boy. He admits he's never joined any club activities but practiced a little a long time ago, then tells her to forget about it. Teases her with a sly look, asking if she's really questioning a guy who's completely naked, leaving her utterly stunned. She overreacts, shouting what kind of pervert would stare at her breasts and declaring that she's already done everything with her boyfriend. With his eyes closed, he apologizes and acknowledges that is an adult with romantic experience, to which she proudly confirms that it's good he knows that. Then respectfully asks his to guide him, and she agrees, telling her to follow her. Lets out a cheerful laugh, genuinely pleased with the situation. With a professional demeanor, he bids farewell and sincerely thanks the dear customers. The manager remarks that the rush hour is almost over, relieved that the recent management changes seem to be working well. Realizes it's time to clean up and wash the dishes that have started piling up while a customer tries to place an order. One of the customers grins widely and says he wants to keep calling her little sister for a bit longer. Another man suggests they get in the car and go for a drive, mentioning how vast the ocean is. Watches, thinking that these guys who are always flirting are such a pain, but believes that, with her romantic experience, will know how to handle them. However, she becomes completely flustered and mumbles that the situation is really embarrassing. The customers laugh loudly, finding her reaction adorable. He looks at her with concern, wondering what's wrong with, and if it's just because they're customers. Then one of the men leans in and tells her to lift her skirt so he can take a quick look. With a mischievous grin, the customer grabs her outfit, saying she wears such a short skirt so they can look anyway. Steps back in panic, begging him to please stop. Ignoring her discomfort, the man and his friends mock anyone who might try to interfere, with one of them boasting that he's the best at karate. Completely intimidated, stammers, unable to find any words. The customer smirks arrogantly and grabs a bottle, bragging that a karate master can split it in half with his bare hand. With a smug grin, he offers to demonstrate his skill. However, when he tries to strike the bottle, his hand swings through empty air, missing completely. The other customers look on in shock at the sudden commotion. Is now holding the bottle, having caught it midair with impressive composure. The man's friends comment on how intense the scene just got, but he angrily tells them to shut up. Furious, the customer points at and yells for the boy to give the bottle back. Places it on the table in front of a stunned and prepares to open it. The man glares at him in rage, demanding to know what the hell Suzuki thinks he's doing. With an incredibly swift motion, breaks the neck of the bottle with a single strike, leaving completely stunned. He tosses the shattered cap into the trash with perfect precision, keeping a cold and calculating gaze. The butler stands in the middle of facing the group of customers with an imposing presence. The other patrons react in awe and admiration, exclaiming how amazing and skillful his move was. The man and his friends stand frozen, their mouths agape in total shock. Furious, the customer confronts, shouting that he's just a brat who got lucky because the bottle happened to break. With an intense look and clenched fist, replies coolly that what he did was nothing out of the ordinary. Without warning, the butler grabs the man by the collar with surprising strength. The customer is thrown to the ground, groaning in pain as his friends demand to know what's going on. Calmly straightens his tie and politely asks the dear customer to maintain order in the restaurant, noting to himself that he still hasn't made any noise. Tells the terrified man that if he knows how to adjust the joint properly, it'll heal in a few days. The customer hurriedly offers an amount equal to salary just to be let go, and the butler finally understands what's going on. With a threatening gaze, he steps closer and whispers for the man to never approach that girl again. The group rushes out of in panic, their friends shouting for to wait up. Turning to a shaken, asks if she's tired and quietly tells himself that he did his best. Overwhelmed and blushing, she leans against his chest, seeking comfort. With tears welling up in her eyes, murmurs that she's just scribbling something about that stupid situation. He looks at her and says there's nothing special about that guy, scolding her for always doing unnecessary things. The other customers in the restaurant applaud, commenting on how amazing and entertaining the scene was. An elderly patron remarks how pleasant the atmosphere feels now, while another notes that those men were only there to cause trouble. A customer compliments, saying she even has an amazing boyfriend, leaving her completely stunned. Blushing furiously, she vehemently denies the assumption that is her boyfriend. The other customers laugh and tell them to stop teasing her, commenting on how cute she looks with her eyes wide open. Shoots a stern look at the man who had apologized, who now seems genuinely remorseful. As evening falls, this exterior grows quiet under the cloudy sky. Remarks that he misunderstood the situation, thinking it was just a regular customer, while she tries to talk about what happened. Then looks at him with gratitude, apologizing and thanking him for what he did earlier. He announces that he'll step out for a moment, saying it seems he forgot something after the guest left. Alone in the hall, she wonders why it's always like this and laments that she can never face the truth. Outside in a narrow alley, confronts the men and tells them they forgot to pick something up. The man smiles warmly, commenting that is very kind and recalling what the waitress said earlier. Confused, he insists he hasn't forgotten anything and asks if has mistaken him for someone else, but the butler asks if this is what he was looking for. Reveals a small object in his hand, explaining that it's probably a listening device that was stuck under table number 8. He warns the man to be careful as there are many dangerous people around, to which the man agrees, saying it's really frightening. With a serious look, reflects that there truly are many dangerous customers and that he's found more than 3 bugs already. The man laughs, recalling that while everyone in the restaurant was watching the commotion, he was the only one looking down. He admits he was afraid of what might have happened if their eyes had met, but realizes that, in fact, the man seemed remarkably calm. The man remembers that at the exact moment the bottle was shattered, calmly lowered his hand back to the table. With a dark, furious glare, calls him a fat rat. The man bolts away in complete panic as swiftly moves toward him. Catches up to him in the alley, grabbing the terrified man from behind with a swift motion. With an intimidating glare, he grips the man's chin and calls him the genius of the family, questioning whether the rumor about how the humble one is treated is really true.